folks, my name's Adam. Welcome back to the channel. Thanks for clicking on this video. Hope everybody's well and staying safe. You catch me here on Thursday the 27th of January, just heading south down the A1M from Darlington, going down to Grantham to collect a load for London for Nova East. First of all, I'd just like to thank everybody who's subscribed to the channel. We're up to something like 167, 168 subscribers as we speak, which I think is fantastic for the short period I've been uploading and for the 13, 14 videos that I've put on. So I'd like to thank you all for subscribing, for liking the videos, anyone that shared the videos, just give me a thumbs up, a thumbs down, and for the lads that have commented. And you know, I think I've replied to every comment, and if I haven't, I apologise, but I'm pretty sure I've replied to everybody's comment. And you know, it's been some quite good comments back and forth. I've really enjoyed building that little bit of a community that we started to get going. I think there's some, you know, some good lads that have that have put some comments in on the videos, and I appreciate it, I really do. So once again, thank you very much for, you know, joining the channel and subscribing and interacting with me. I think it's fantastic. So this week's video is going to be a slight change to the video format. I'm going to do once a month a full week of me doing the job, which I'm going to call Westy Weekly. So this will be on Saturday. I'll upload episode 1 of Westy Weekly. The days are going to be quite compact. I'm not going to do massive drawn out days, because obviously it's going to be 5 days and possibly a running Saturday morning and a wash off of the truck and stuff like that. So I'm going to try and keep the videos quite compact, still showing the usual way, the offloading on time lapses and stuff like that. And obviously I've got the 2 cameras running now, which I sort of did halfway through the video, because I had the camera with me but I hadn't been using it, and I don't know why, because I'd been using it in my first videos. And it's much better for you to see out and see me as well, I think. So this bit now will just be me chatting really about my experience in the job, and just, you know, how I found the job and how this particular job has changed. And it's too big of a section to put into the weekly vlog, so I just thought I'd stick it up here now, put it on, and then obviously explain that monthly now I will do a weekly video where it'll be 5 days crammed into one video, and there'll only be one upload on a Saturday that week, and then the rest of the week it will be the rest of the weeks of that month, and obviously going forward it'll be an upload Wednesday and an upload Saturday of probably two days that I've filmed, 2 decent days that I've filmed, and anything interesting that goes on in the job. So again, thank you for watching. Enjoy this little bit of me just chatting in an HGV, and I'll see you all in the next one. Stay safe and bye for now. Right, that's us tip, guys. 9 o'clock. Didn't start me till 8. When the guy came in, he said, you know, we don't start till 8. I thought, well, your gaffer in there said 7:30, but fair enough. So it's 9 o'clock. I'm reckoning it's going to be getting on for midday by the time I get to Grantham. So the chances of us being on time at Nova East London are slim to 0. Because I'd have to take a 45-minute break as well. So however, we might get there a bit earlier. We might get there about 11:45. Get it chained up. Hopefully it's just a couple of chains with a bit of luck. It's a trailer swap, so we're not waiting to load. Get a break and set off. If we can get there for 1:45 and get it ready to roll in half an hour, 45 minutes, leaving there at 1, might be 4:30, 5 o'clock. So get that tip. We've got till 9 o'clock tonight, so that's not so much of an issue. It's a bit of a what's it, isn't it? Straight on a bend, crossing. Straight from that corner onto the crossing. I was looking at the truck, how much cleaner it is. Don't get me wrong, it's getting dirty, but how much cleaner it is this week compared to what it was last week, because it was a lot of like drizzle last week about in the, well, where I was driving anyway, so it was pulling all the crap off the road as you was driving. You were getting all the spray off the other vehicles, where this week it's been quite dry. Today it's looking a bit damp. Yeah, quite breezy this morning as well, but warmer, 7.5 degrees, 8.5 degrees yesterday when I was running up, when I was getting up towards Yorkshire way. 8.5. It's definitely got a bit milder. I was thinking last night how people say this job is like a way of life, and I suppose it is when you're tramping. If you're just driving, you're just a driver, and you know, you're doing day work, supermarket work, that type of thing. Obviously it's just a driving job, but as a tramper it does become a way of life quite quickly after you know, originally when I was in the HGV industry, I was what I class as just being a driver. You know, I did the odd night out at the beginning. I suppose like van driving and stuff like that. Never really thought much of being an HGV driver. It was just something that I was doing. It was just a job. It was just something where the money was decent and it was a job. And then obviously when the opportunity came to take me class 2, like to do my class 2 and get on the trucks, obviously I jumped at the chance, because again, it was money more than anything. Not like a love, I'll be honest, not a love of wanting to drive a truck, more the money. But you know, it was exciting. It was a good thing. You know, I thought, you know, I'm gonna get an HGV license. I'm gonna be driving a truck. Don't get me wrong. You know, I was happy and sort of like proud of that fact. But again, it was more, I'm doing it because of the money. I'm doing it because that's what I'm coming to work for. I've got a young family. That's what I'm doing it for. And then obviously still it was just a driving job. I did the odd night out, 1 a week, 2 at the very most, but normally one a week, maybe 1 every couple of weeks. So that was just like a novel thing. It was just, oh, going on a night out. It was just something different. At the time as well, I was stopping in the hotel in the truck stop, and if that was fully booked, travel lodge, so you weren't sleeping in the truck. I started sleeping in the truck towards the very end of that company that I was working for when I was driving the class 2, because they'd changed trucks maybe about 4 or 5 months before I left, and it had a sleeper cab, so obviously I started to use the sleeper cab then. Well, like I said, because we weren't tramping and weren't out all the time, my first truck, my first 7.5 tonner, it did have a sleeper cab, but by that time it was getting on a bit. It was due for being renewed. It was due for getting new trucks. I think they were getting new trucks in less than 12 months. Night Eater had packed up on it, and the other couple of lads that were doing the nights out were in the same boat. So that's when we started stopping at the hotel, and that's obviously when the management decided we're going to save money on the new trucks, not getting with sleeper cabs, and for the nights out that we are doing, it was only down to 2 of us then, me and a lad called Big Al. They can just stop at the truck stop or stop at an hotel, wherever they are, you know, travel lodge. So that's what we did. And then that was on a 7.5 tonner, even though, you know, I'd done my class 2. I didn't have the 7.5 ton entitlement on my license. It was sort of like a bit of a blessing. What happened was, I took my driving test in December 1996. I failed. I actually had a good lesson, to be fair. I failed at a set of traffic lights. Not everyone can say, oh no, I shouldn't have failed, but tell you what happened. I was coming up to a set of traffic lights, and the traffic lights changed to amber on approach. Now, granted, I was probably at the point of no return, sort of at that point where you go through, you know, suppose like a plane going down the runway. It gets to a certain point and it can't, no matter what goes on, it has to take off. Now, obviously, that's a lot different, because if the plane doesn't take off after that point, it's just going to career off the end of the runway and crash. So no matter what happens, that plane takes off. A little bit different in a car, but her reason, the lady's reason for failing me when we got back to the test centre, and it was literally, not obviously, I don't know if anyone watching this knows Bolton, but yeah, if anyone knows Bolton at all, it was sort of like the lights at Green Lane as you come down, and you got Green Lane on your left, and then basically you follow that road down round the bend, turn left at another set of traffic lights, and then right into the test centre. I was half a mile from the test centre, if that. I had a couple of more like junctions to negotiate, a couple of, like that set of lights, another set of lights, a left turn, a right turn into the car park, and I thought I'd done really well, and I had up to that point. Done quite well with manoeuvres and everything like that. I was on for a pass, and I think that was the reason. I knew how close I was to the test centre, and I knew I've passed it. You know, you just have that feeling I've passed it. I've done a really good, you know, you've been doing mock tests and stuff like that. So I decided when I'm stopping, because I thought maybe, I was just thinking she'll fail me on it. Anyway, she never said anything. We got back to the test centre. She said, I've got to fail you. She said, it was that traffic light. She said, I was saying in my head, go through, go through, go through, and you stopped. And she goes, it would have been all right, but the guy behind you, I don't know if you noticed, but he had to slam on. I could hear his tyres screech, or, you know, I could hear his tyres skid. I didn't hear no screech. And he nearly run into Macchia. Now, that's not my problem. That's his problem. He's obviously driving too close. So when I got out and got in driving instructor's car and I was coming home, I was like, and he said, look, the problem you've got if you start like trying to protest, you know, like sort of like protest that you don't think it was a fail, which it probably was, to be fair, thinking about it in hindsight. I was at that point of no return, should have just gone through the lights. But he said to me, the problem you've got now is everyone's trying to get tests and stuff like that. You've got to wait 2 weeks before you can have another test. He said, but in January, things change. You would have to do the theory test. You wouldn't get like certain entitlements on your license, like 7.5 ton and towing trailers over a certain size. You can tow a little small trailer, can't you? But you certainly couldn't tow a caravan or anything like that. He said, so you'd have to do a test if you ever wanted to tow a caravan. You'd have to do another test if you wanted to drive any van over 3.5 ton. You know, you wanted a big camper van or that type of thing. He said, you're better off, rebook your test, get in for it, get it done. Anyway, a couple of weeks goes past and it gets back onto me. Got a problem, can't get you a test on 13th of January, you're going to have to do your theory test. Jesus. Anyway, long story short, I crammed the theory test revision in, bang, flew in there, smashed that 100%, did the test, passed no problems. Another female examiner, and I thought I'd done worse on the test, but not enough to fail. I'd got more minor faults and stuff, probably nerves, but I passed anyway, I didn't fail. And but that really was the catalyst in me getting my HGV, because when the company I was driving the vans for, had 7.5 tonners and had a couple of class 2 vehicles. So when I went over onto the driving side from just generally working in the warehouse and stuff like that, the transport manager didn't know that I didn't have the entitlement. So after a few months of driving the van, or maybe 12 months of driving the van, driver had left, and he had the 7.5 tonners were quite long, stretched out, because it was only light bulk. It was bulky, but really light materials we were carrying. But they had one small, normal size, what I would say a normal size. Oh, they had two actually, but one of the lads that left was on this small 7.5 tonner. So he says to me, "Won't you take that out tomorrow? Blah blah blah. You know, I've seen you driving. You know, I've been out with you in the van. You'll be all right. Just just get out. We'll give you a couple of easy runs." I said, "I can't." He said, "Of course you can." I said, "No, honestly, I can't." He said, "Why not?" He said, "You'll be all right." He said, "If you want someone to go with you, you want me to sit in with you for a morning or something like that, I will do." I said, "Oh, I can't drive them. I haven't got a license for it." So I showed him my license. Jesus Christ. He said, first thing I was, "Mate, you're bloody good to me then. If you can't drive, you only drive that van. I need more than that." So I figured, well, that's it. That's my what's it into the transport industry. Done and dusted within 12 months. That's me finished. Finito, out the door, on the scrap heap and all that. So anyway, a couple of hours later, I think I've gone out and done a run. I've come back, and he's called me into office. He said, "I've had a word upstairs," and he said, "I tried to get them to pay for your 7.5 ton license, but they won't pay for it. But what they're willing to do is pay for it, and then you pay it back over a period of weeks through your wages." So I said, "Really?" He said, yeah. So I said, "Yeah, no, well," he said, "Right, well, don't waste any time. Jump in the car," they had like a company car, "get yourself off down to Red Rose training and get some information and try and get some dates booked in." So I went down there, Red Rose at Stoneclove, Kersley, spoke to them. Guy comes through and starts taking all my details, looks at my licence. He's writing it all down. He said, "You're over 21, aren't you?" I said, "Well, yeah, I'm 21. And he said, "Well, why are you doing your 7.5 ton?" I said, "Because I haven't got it on my licence." And he said, "Well, it's the same money and the exact same test to do your class 2. It's no different in cost. It's going to cost you the same amount of money, but then you get your class 2. He said, "If you're under 21, I can understand you're doing class 3. Because that's what they changed it to, didn't they, to the class 3. He said, "But so obviously," I said, "Right, well, book me in for that and I'll have a word when I get back." So when I got back, I told him. He said, "Do that then." He said, "We've got, you can always use it here. We've got class 2 vehicles, not going to cash you any more money. Do that." So that's what I did. Went out and did that and passed that. And had a lot of minor faults, to be fair. Mirrors and stuff like that, and just little bits, I had some like 7 or 8 minor faults, but it was a pass, so it didn't really matter. And then I did that for like about 6 years, and I drove the 7.5 tonner for a while, like I said, the odd night out. And then one of the lads on the class 2 had a heart attack, and they ended up on that. And then they bought another company. He came back and he ended up back in a 7.5 tonner just for a month or so, but I always knew, he'd told me, they bought a company out in Brighton and they were moving that part of the company that they were keeping down to Stoneclove, actually around the corner from Red Rose Training, and they were going to base 2 more that they purchased with the company, 2 more class 2 Renault Premium class 2 wagons. So when they came, the lad that had the heart attack and myself went working down there for what they called AMR, which was the 3 initials of the 3 brothers that owned the company, Andrew, Michael and Richard. But then I I think that's when it came quite regular, doing one night out a week, sometimes two. But the truck they bought didn't have a sleeper cab. And then eventually, after a couple of years, that was due for renewing. That's when I got the one with the sleeper cab. But yeah, getting back to, you know, when I came to Swains, I'd done my class 1 off my own back, because again I thought, you know what, I'm here now, I've been doing this job, it's what I do now, you know what I mean. I'm 26, I've been doing this job 26, 27, whatever. I was 27 when I started here, I think I was 26, yeah, when I did. So I'd had my class 2 like 5 years, going on 6 years, and I thought, you know what, it's what I do now, you know, I'm driving, it's what I do. The big money, the better money at the time is class 1 work. I had it in my head about driving containers and tippers and you know, something easy really, not going on straight onto general haulage, something I could cut my teeth on. I thought best would have been just, the sun's bright, I can't do it, cover the camera up, I have to put my shades on. Yeah, the joys of vlogging. Crap shades, they're actually from my mountain bike. I've just chucked them in here because I broke my other ones. So yeah, getting back to that, I thought I'm going to do it, and I'm going to go on you know, get a container job or something where I could just ease into that side of it, into the class 1 work. So I went out and did that. Put a lot of pressure on myself as well that week doing it, and I don't know why, because I'm not trying to blow smoke up my own backside or anything, but it felt hard to me, and I felt like I was under a lot of pressure doing it. But my instructor was saying, without, you know, like after I'd passed my test, he said, "You was ready for your test on Wednesday." He said, "I don't understand who assess you, why they did, you had to have lessons, you know, you did the 4 days lessons and the 5th day on your test." He said, "You was ready Wednesday, you could have done your test Thursday." He said, "Thursday really, you didn't need." He said, "I don't know who assessed you for it, but you didn't need it." But fair enough, I mean, when I did the assessment, that's what he said to me. But no, that was it. But he said to me, "But your company's paying for it, aren't they?" And I said, "No, I'm paying for it myself." And that's when he was a bit miffed, because I think by the sounds of that, what they normally do is, if companies are paying for it and things like that, probably because of that's what's happened when I was there last time, they probably just give you that extra day's training, because obviously it's costing a big company extra money, but it'll make sure you get a pass and it'll look good for them, and obviously get more business from that company. So anyway, past that, and then it was the big hunt to try and find a job, which was so difficult. Everybody wanted 2 years experience, and I've got 2 years experience. Been driving in class 2 for 6 years now. No, need to be class 1 experience. Went for a shunter driving job, and he said, "Look mate, this is harder than out there on the road." I didn't realise, obviously I was green at it all, so I didn't realise. And then obviously looking at what shunters do now, I'd have never been able to put trailers on bays like they do and be that quick, because it's difficult reversing one of these when you first pass your test, especially in tight RDCs and things like that. So eventually I took the plunge to do a bit of agency work on a weekend. Obviously I could only do 1 day, whether it be doing the Saturday or doing the Sunday. Had some close calls though doing the Sundays, where I was getting back with minutes to spare to have 9 off to start again for the company I was still working for in the morning on the class 2. Had a couple of close calls there, a couple of times where I actually had to come in at 7 o'clock, kick stones around the yard for half an hour before I could put my card in. But anyway, eventually I spoke to Rob Blackshaw, who was the transport manager at Swains, after speaking to a couple of old boys, one that I knew and one that I'd met, because they were sending trailers into AMR to load. Swains were bringing trailers down to load and deliver for us. So eventually I went and spoke to Rob just before Christmas in 2006, and he said to me, "Look, It's going to go quiet January, February, March. I'm not fobbing you off, that's just the way this industry goes with what we do. So give me a ring beginning of March and remind me. So anyway, what had happened, he had me, he had my phone number, I had his email address. But my phone number, I changed my phone number, so I emailed him just to say, like, look, change my phone number, this is my new number, blah blah blah. I'm still very interested. This was like towards the end of February. I'll ring you in March. Anyway, he rung me about a day or two later, and he said, well, yeah, I forgot all about you. He said, we've picked up a little bit, and I've just took 2 lads on. One starts this week, and one's on his notice and starts next week, which would have been like the 1st or 2nd week of March. I think it was the 1st week of March. He said, so I'm gonna train him for a week, because he's like you, he's never done any class 1 work, so I'm going to train him for a week, put him with one of the old boys that I do. He said, once he's up to speed, I'll get you in. So anyway, he rung me, and he said, well, what notice do you need to give? He said, a week. He said, right, give it. So he'd obviously done his training. I give a week's notice, and then I started the last week in March 2007. And I remember, like, obviously interviewing with Rob, sort of saying, well, he said, like, come and see me, which he did, and then he handed me notice, and that's how it worked. I remember interviewing with Rob, and he's on about, what about nights out? He said, yeah, you know, I don't mind doing 2, maybe 3 a week. Yeah, that's not a problem. That changed so quickly to like 4 nights out, more or less. 3 and 4 nights out, sometimes 5, running back in on a Saturday, within a few months of doing the job. I think I just settled into it and just got on with it, and just, like I say, all the old boys that were there really give me, you know, a lift with stuff. I struggled with certain things. I struggled in a lot of places, reversing because it was tight and stuff like that. But it was in the yard. Oh, the yard was terrible. The old yard. It was so tight. You got back on a Saturday morning, and the yard lad would be like, right, get it in here. And it might take you 10 minutes and 10 attempts to get it in, but he was a nice lad, so he'd sort of like, come on, pull back forward, get your angle, start coming in. And it was just a steep learning curve. Obviously the loads that we was doing, some place I were going, and like they were putting stuff on me, and I'm like, how the hell am I going to strap this? I don't even know what to do with it. But I'd just say, how do they normally strap this, mate? Oh, drivers, they'll strap it here, they'll do this. And if there was another driver there, then it was alright. But if there wasn't, normally, just ask the forklift truck driver. Just ask. You know what I mean? You've got an hole in your head, just ask. You don't try and be proud about it, and just tell him, look, never done this before, mate, I've only been on the job a few weeks. How do they normally strap these? Well, what I've seen them do, they put a strap here, strap there, and that's it. I remember going, I got a load of generators with the lights on that extend for building sites and things like that, and roadworks. And I'm looking at them, they're all on wheels, and he's putting them on and winding the brake on them all and everything. I'm like, how the friggin' hell do I strap these? And I'm thinking, I'll strap the wheels, I'll do this. He said, look, handbrakes are on them all, they're not going to go anywhere. Put a strap through this lifting eye at the back, strap through the lifting eye at the front. Don't strap over the actual body of it, because you'll crush it, and obviously it's got a door on one side to start the engine and all that. He said, just do that, they won't go anywhere. And then obviously at the back, because they had the tow eye on them, because obviously you could tow them. He said, go through the tow eye and just pull it, you know, pull them all forward. They never moved the muscle, but when he was putting them on, I was like, and he said, your face when I was loading them, he said, I could tell. You were like, what the hell am I going to do with these? But he would, like I say, it was a steep learning curve, and I would recommend that to anyone. I know it's nerve-wracking, and you just got to get on with it, and you just got to be confident that, you know, what people are telling you is right, and get it strapped down, and if in doubt, just put more straps on it. I mean, I used to load rebar out of the dock, and I'd have about 17 strips. I'd get to a place where I'm going, and I'd be like taking out straight, and it'd just be straight bar. And he'd be like, Jesus, driver, maybe 17 is an exaggeration, maybe about 12, but you probably only need about 6 or 7, you know what I mean? But you got your porcelain and all that. Like, Jesus, driver, how many straps have you got in this? I don't need that many. I remember going into London, and it was the first job I was doing for the company we deliver all this steel for. And Wood Street it was in London. That was like one of the first jobs that I was doing. I remember going in there, and I was taking stuff out. It was sort of like towards the end of it, and they put these stillages on me, and they put a lifting beam that attaches to the crane, just so they can lift the big, massive steel beams up. And I'm strapping this backwards and forwards. And it was a Saturday morning, and the bloke said, "Jesus Christ, driver, come on," because I had to be in there at 7 o'clock in the morning. I think I ended up getting in there a bit late, and obviously they just want to get that done, and they're done then. They're going home. That job's finished, as far as they're concerned. They're finished off that job. They just want to get back home. They've been down there God knows how long, most weeks, probably most weekends as well, for 2 years or something like that, getting the odd weekend at home. They just wanted to get home and get a few weeks home before the next project started, before they got dumped onto the next project. And he's like, "Jesus, driver, how many straps are you putting on that?" And then he did make the comment about, I said, "Oh, well, that'll do that morning." "Yeah, that'll do, mate, that'll do." He did make the comment about, "Jesus Christ, if I see that on side of the road on the way up the M6, how guilty am I going to feel?" But to be honest with you, it was overkill. But like I say, fast learning curve, and then it just does become a way of life. Once you start to feel confident in the job, and you can sheet up with all the jobs we were doing, the work we were doing was unbelievable. I said to myself, this is a job for life. After about a year of working here, and the variety of work, the place that we're going, I'm thinking the money was brilliant for what I'd been earning before. I was earning double what I'd been earning before. I've got money in the bank, I'm buying my house, we're having another baby. I'm just thinking, oh, it's unbelievable. This is a job forever, job for life. Never leaving this place. It's on my doorstep. I love it. And it just then obviously became a way of life. And the camaraderie between the drivers, obviously some of the old boys were parking up in the truck stops, they were having a few scoops, you know what I mean, they were on the beer. That was the way it was obviously tailing off, but that's the way it was. So you go in the truck stops, you'd have a couple of pints, you know, you go back to your cab, you'd be up in the morning, you'd all be taking cabins up to Scotland, somewhere like that, and then you'd all be going off different locations to get your backloads and then meeting up again. And it was brilliant. It was absolutely the best job in the world. It really was, for years, for a good 5-6 years. And then obviously, as I've said, it started to, you know, them boys started to retire, new faces started to come in, it changed in the office, the environment. I mean, that was about 5 years ago, maybe 6-7 years ago, when Howard left, who was the transport manager. And then obviously Rob Blackshaw's the depot manager, left. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the team we have now, but it's a different team. It's not an old school team. It's not a team that thrived on it, that had it running through his veins, that was sort of like just getting us work and doing different things. It's all run differently now. It's all run as one complete entity instead of separate entities, where we could just go out and get the work we wanted, and it's all different. And obviously with the projects that we have down in Kent at head office that they're concentrating on, now our loads all seem to be South London, into Gateway, into one of our, you know, new ventures down there, and back up with a backload. And I understand that from a company's point of view. From a driver's point of view, the level of job enjoyment has dropped. Still like the job, it still pays well, you know what I mean. There's other jobs out there that pay more, but I love flatbed work, and I keep thinking to myself, them days will come again. Projects come and go, like I said previously about, eventually, you know, there's not going to be the work going into London, so they will have to look elsewhere. They'll have to start to change. But honestly, at one point, this was just, it was the best job ever, the best job in the world, is what I thought anyway. The laughs we used to have, the drivers that was here, that, you know, all meeting up, where you parking tonight, all meet up, all have a laugh, get the cookers out, and, you know, in the nice weather, cook some food. Everyone would be like chucking a bit in, you know, like I used to do all sorts. I used to like have chicken that I'd like marinate at home, and I'd chuck that in with veg and stuff like that, and do a bit of a stir fry with noodles. I used to do fish, because I didn't have the microwave in the inverter. It was all done on my little cooking stove. So during the winter it was a little bit different, because you're cooking some of that stuff in the cab, it stunk. But during, you know, the summer months, you just get out and put your cooker on your catwalk, be cooking all sorts of stuff. But it'd be good, you know, open a couple of bottles of beer, all sat out, all having a laugh, you know, on some truck stop or industrial estate or wherever it was, wherever we parked. Sometimes, a lot of the time, it was customers' premises. When we used to do NSD out of Scunthorpe, it was a big trailer park. We just pull on the trailer park, and you know what I mean. We just took in someone and chuck some whatever on, you know what I mean. And breakfast, breakfast were brilliant. There'd be like me, one of my best mates, Mike at the time, and Dave, and there were another lad what was he called? Oh, come on, Adam, what was he called? Brilliant lad. Rough as anything, no teeth, from Little Hulton, proper like, alright, you know, proper man, like, oh, top one, nice one, sorted, and all this, proper like rough and ready, liked to be a, you know what I mean, he even liked to smoke of the weed and all sorts. He was a bit of a character, but Jesus Christ, he'd be like that in the morning, come on driver, like we were parked at Chipping Norton, delivering pavestone. Actually, for this company, we've always had some dealings with this company, that the Global Storm company that I've just been delivering for. We've always had this like relationship with them, delivering their goods and stuff. Now it's just we're a bit more involved in it. And we got to this place, and you could reverse, you could pull in and drive round, and they had the pavestone side of it, but they also had like where they had like chip bark and other stuff, like what your walking floors coming, what like your Jenkinsons come in and pick up from the sawmill section of it. So we used to pull in and back up near these big pile under the trees, ready to get the tips in the morning. I think they used to start about 7:30, 8 o'clock. So I've set my alarm for 7 o'clock. And same again, me and this lad, what was he called? It's going to do my head in. I am useless with names, absolutely useless. What was he called? Anyway, don't matter. He used to have, his DAF was one of the old, when I started here, I had a W-Reg DAF, and it had the little bonnet that flipped up at the front, and he used to, but even when it was raining, he put this plastic tarp off it, and he'd cook on his double hob cooker, full English, you know. We were mad, he were brilliant, but mad. So this day, I was in like a newer one then. I think I was in like a 53 plate, so it was the newer shape, same layout, dashboard and everything as what the CF DAFs are now, and he was in the old shape. So we parked up there, and Carl Moraz, I knew I'd get that name, Carl Moraz, top bloke he was, and obviously we'd had something to eat and had a couple of beers and sat there, had a bit of a chat, and it was like, right, see you at 7 o'clock. So I've got my head down, and I'm thinking, what's going on here? Come on driver, got your breakfast on here. I thought, what? Looks, it's 10 to 7. But gets up, I pull curtain round, and I can see him outside of it, proper getting his cook on with all tarp over. It's raining. I'm thinking, Jesus Christ. So I'm putting my gruds on and putting my pants on and t-shirt on and all that, and I pulled my curtain round and I put window down. I've gone, Jesus Carl, and as I put window down, yeah, do you want mushrooms? And it was honestly, it was a full English. Sausage, bacon, egg, beans, tomatoes. The only thing he didn't have was fried bread. I had a couple of toast, I had a couple of rounds of bread. Do you want mushrooms? Yeah, mushrooms. Unbelievable. Didn't have black pudding, but can't knock him for that. But he were mustard at that, doing your English breakfast for you, doing your full breakfast. But we used to do it. You still see the foreigners doing it now, don't you? You know, they have a little chair out and they have the what's on side of the trailers that they fold down, they'll be cooking. I've pulled on, and you know, they've got like slow cookers cooking away outside of the trucks and stuff like that. And, you know, cooking pots of stew and whatever it is that they cook, you know what I mean? Some of these Polish lads and Lithuanians and Russians and what have you. But it does quickly become, and obviously I can understand what people say, about it becoming a way of life. And it just does, because you are spending most of your time in the job, in the truck. But now it's like, you know, my two best mates have left here that I grew close to doing this job. Obviously a lot of the old boys have gone. It's a different atmosphere. We don't get the truck stop parking anymore, which I think killed off a lot of the camaraderie and a lot of the, like, you know, you get to meet the new drivers. I'll bump into drivers and I've never seen them before on a job, and I'll say like, how long have you worked here? 6 months. Well, it's 6 months, and I haven't seen them, especially when I was running out on the Sundays. I've never seen anyone. I see more people now, because you see them around the yard on a Monday and stuff like that. But when I was running out on a Sunday and then I'd get back early Friday, I wouldn't see anyone, apart from if you see people on the jobs. But obviously it's the nature of some of the work we do, pit lane work and things like that, someone's pulled out of that lane before you can pull in, so you're not on the job at the same time unless you go to the same collection point. But yeah, it's a different place to work now than it used to be. It's got a different feeling. It's more professional. It's better. It's got more health and safety. It's got, you know, more obviously, like with the apps on your phones, you know, it's with the trucks are better. The maintenance was always spot on. The old trucks, but the maintenance was always top notch, mechanically wise. Visually, you know, like if you did a bit of damage, it wouldn't get. They weren't so much on image, but they're going that way now on image. It's changing, you know. It's more about branding. It's more about imaging. They've changed it, obviously, to the Swain Group. It was the Swain Group. Well, it was our Swain and Sons, which it still is. Our Swain and Sons, but the branding is now the Swain Group, because it is a massive group of companies. Since I started, the companies that they've bought, it's unbelievable. A container company, a tipper company, you know, a big lifting company. They've gone into the heavy haulage. It's changed so much, and it's now at the moment, you know, Bob Swain retired, and then they got the first non-family member to come in to be managing director, Paul Kavanagh. He lasted 4 years maybe. And now we've got the managing director now, Matthew Deere, and James Wyatt, who works very closely with him. They seem to be really pinning down now a direction where the company's going with all these new projects, with all this brick and block work and paved stone work and decanting of containers. And the sites are getting better, the branding's getting better, the trucks are getting better, the investment in kit and in trailers is getting better. The uniforms smarter and better, and that side of things is great. But what it has lost is that family feel, that old school feel, that everybody knows you by your first name sort of feel. You're just a number now. Too, because the faces, and I think because faces change so much in the office now, that's why you become just a number. At one time, from when I started, to say about 6-7 years in, until we moved depots, it was the same faces in all 3 depots. They never changed. I had like 1 or 2, but it was the same main people, and it was just fantastic environment to work in. I'm not saying now that it isn't. I'm just saying now that it's become a group of companies. It's become a much bigger animal, a massive turnover compared to what it used to be. Things are a lot different. It's a lot more professional. There's no bending of the rules. There's no, you know, there's no chance we could be doing what we used to be doing and all parking up together and all sort of like, we'll meet up here and sort of like coming, not massively off route, but you know, a little bit off route, so you could all meet up and have a couple of pints and, you know, and a laugh. That's not part of the job anymore, I suppose. So that way of life now becomes sort of like you're just in your truck on your own of a night time type of thing. You just, I mean, you know, if we were parked up somewhere, there'd always be Mike or Dave or somebody else. You know, telly would be set up when we used to have the telly with the aerial on the roof. Telly would be set up. You know, there'd be a couple of beers there, and we'd be having a chat. Now it's curtains round, even if there's somebody there, you know, it might be a bit of a chat, and yeah, no problem. Them days are gone. It just, things change, and I don't drink now. I won't touch a drop of a night time. It's not that we was getting drunk, and you know what I mean, but 2-3 beers of a night time, and then you're up early driving. You never know, you're running that risk. And obviously drivers did get out of hand, and 1 or 2 would turn into 5, 6 and 7. Don't get me wrong, I've seen it, it's happened. But like I said, that was the nature of it, of the old boys. That was what they did. That was how the old boys used to do it. I mean, I've heard stories of, you know, like police waiting for you, you know, at the truck stop, you're starting your trucks up and all that, and it'd be right blowing to that. Not going anywhere yet driving. They won't be doing you. That wouldn't happen now, you'd be getting done. I mean, I don't know whether this is true, this is just, you know, what I've been told, you know, 80s and all that. Not going anywhere yet, driver, sleep that off. You know, they make them go, you know, they make them not drive for a couple more hours, which is fair enough. But no, that's just, it's not professional, it's not feasible to be having. You know, if you're going sitting in somewhere and having a meal and you have a pint, fair enough, you know what I mean? I bet every people watching this now, they'll go home and they might have a couple of beers with the tea, or they might stick football and have a couple of beers, you know what I mean? That's obviously that's acceptable, I'm not saying it isn't. Sometimes I'll do that. There's a bit of football on or what have you, you know, when England were playing in the World Cup, I thought, you know, I'm going to take some beers with me and have them in the fridge, and I'll watch a few of the games and crack a couple of bottles open. But it's only weak Budweiser beer. You're only having 2 or 3 bottles of it. You're fine, it's no problem. It's when it gets out of hand, it's when there's a lot of you and you're having a laugh and we're having one more type of thing, one for the road, bollocks and all that. It does get out of hand, doesn't it? So yeah, well, you know, all I'm trying to say is the way of life, which I thought it was when I was younger, and the laughs we used to have, and being out on the road and being with your mates, it was like a band of brothers type thing. You were out there with your mates, and a lot of us had started that year. My mate Mike and Dave had started that year. Dave just before me, Mike just after. I didn't know him before I started the job, but became very good friends. You know, there was an handful of people, the 2 lads, Alex and Tony, started. Tony was the lad that started the week before me, who did the training the couple of weeks before me, and Alex was the lad before that Robert started. He already had a mate here, and then, you know, Fraser that's still here. You know, there was loads, you know what I mean? I could name off 20, 30 drivers, and then obviously you had the old boys, Vinny, Malk, Tony Kenyon with his lad. He was here. You know, you had like the handful of old boy, Roadkill. He literally used to eat roadkill. I'll find a picture of him when he had a bleeding deer on the back of his car. I've seen him eat all sorts of stuff. Squirrel, hares, deer. I've seen him. I've not seen him catch them, but I've seen him fishing for eels and stuff in the estuary down at Kent, down at Rochester. And he cooks them on the exhaust. Unbelievable. He was a proper character. And I can imagine, I mean, they used to tell us when they all started in the 70s, and they were all in the early 20s, like, you know, like I was then, and like my mates were. You know, they were up to all sorts of stuff they were up to. Unbelievable. Some of the mad stuff they get up to. And I suppose if I told stories now, which I wouldn't tell on here, I really wouldn't, but if I told stories now about the things we got up to when we were all young lads in our 20s doing this job, and out, you know, out of a night and, like say, a few beers and going to pubs and doing all sorts of mad stuff, then you probably wouldn't believe it. You'd probably be like, nah. And we were probably a bit like that with them. But then now, when you look back, you think, well, look what we were doing, and then you can imagine what they were getting up to in the 70s and 80s. Would have been crazy. But yeah, I think the way of life saying now is not really relevant anymore. It is obviously our way of life, because you're in a truck, and you're living a lot of your life in this truck day and night. But the way of life on the road that it used to be, and I'm not talking about there's more traffic on the road, and obviously there is Forza and rules and regulations, and we're more regulated probably than the airline industry or something. It's bleeding ridiculous. But putting that side of it to one side, just the way the job is, just like say that band of brothers, that camaraderie between, maybe it's still there in smaller companies. Maybe it's still there when you go to a company where there's only 20 drivers, or 15, 20, 25 drivers, and you all get on with the job, and you have regular places where you stop. Maybe it is still there a little bit, but it's certainly not here for me anymore. It's just now, it's just a job, you know what I mean? I just get on with the job and do the job. How long I'll be tramping for, I couldn't tell you. It's I don't dislike the job. I enjoy the job. I really do enjoy the job, and my passion for the job is still here, and I'll still do the job. But will I be full-time tramper forever? No, I won't. I mean, originally, me and Nicola, my missus, we said like 40. If we haven't, like, we tried to have another baby after we had Kaylee. We had Aaliyah before I started driving. Then we had Kaylee, like I said, when I started here and I was earning the money, we bought the house and things like that. And then we wanted another, I wanted a lad really. And it just weren't working out. So it was sort of like, right, Nicola's going to go back to work. I'm going to have a lot more time at home. And then obviously she fell pregnant with Lucas. And that's changed. But no, he's at school, he's 7 now, so that was 7 years ago. He's at school now, Nicola is working. And financially we're getting better off than we were before. So it's sort of now becoming a case of be home more. Wow, my eldest daughter's 24. But Kaylee's 13, Luke's is 7. But while they're still young, you know what I mean, I want to spend more time with them. So I've still got, I still know I've got, I'm not there yet. I think I've still got another 12, 18 months, 2 years. Yeah, just the way I feel, you know what I mean. I still love the job, but things could change in that time, they really could. But I think I'll be doing something where maybe it's just a couple of nights away a week, just to find that balance. I think that's where I'll be at, and that could still be here. You know what I mean? That could still be at Swains, it could be elsewhere. Mad when you've spent 15 years of your life somewhere, innit? And then you think back of some of the great times that you've had in the job. Anyway, I've rambled on for 45 minutes.